All right, can everyone hear me okay? Coming in loud and clear? Thank you so much for joining today. It's so nice to see familiar faces and maybe some new people who haven't joined before. Welcome. You are tuned in to the Foster Care Ombudsman Advisory Meeting. I will be your flight attendant this evening, and hopefully we have some good conversations and some exchange of information and got some new people for you to meet if you haven't met them already. So I'm super excited to get us going. I do have some things to go over just in the beginning, but I just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. So I'm sure that you've seen that already as you logged on, but I just wanted to let everyone know that if you are on camera, this is being recorded. And I'll go over that again in just a moment. All righty, let me make sure I got myself on the right pages. Oops, nope, that's not it. Okay. You able to still see my screen? Awesome. So just a quick little rundown of the agenda that we're going to go over today. And I know that we are scheduled for an hour. There was some conversation about trying to get this meeting to be an hour so that people can, complete it during their workday and kind of transition on to the next part of the evening. So I'm going to try my hardest to get us done by 5, but there are some big things to talk about, and I definitely want to leave some room for space if there's any conversation that would be helpful. But this is just a quick rundown of what I'm hoping to get to. So we'll just go over just some welcome introductions. We'll go over some changes to the Governor's Advocacy Office. We, as always, will go over the report, so the Foster Care Ombudsman report. We'll go through that together, nice and slow, so that we can point out anything that might need to change. As I wrote in the email that I believe most of everybody here has received, the report that we'll be going over is still in draft form. So the voices and the participation here is very crucial to making sure that the report is ready to send off to the director of the Oregon Department of Human Services and the governor's office. So I welcome your participation in reviewing that report and making sure we got it right. We will also go over just some 2025 legislative session updates. So some big changes are happening in the legislative long session right now that I just want to really briefly touch on and just kind of share some information that I know to be true at this point in time. And then we'll have some time to talk about outreach efforts and events, and then roundtable. So if you have any questions for me, or there's anything that I can hopefully take back with me and get answered for you, I would love to have some time for you to comment and ask any questions you might have. Before we get into everything, though, I want to definitely lay the platform of what this space is. So this is just a little bit of some guidelines as to what this space is, and really what I hope to gain from this group of individuals that are willing to participate. So this is a space for those with foster care experience and their advocates to advise the Oregon Foster Care Ombudsman, focusing on the role's purpose. So really making sure that we're staying in line with the why behind this position and why it was created in the first place. Making sure that my efforts in this position are moving towards that target at every moment. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth as we move forward. As I mentioned, this meeting is being recorded, which is new. So that was something we discussed in January, and I'm super excited about it because there's a lot of people that I hear from that are not able to join in this meeting at this time and date. So I'm hopeful that this will be a way that we can engage extra participation. So I'll be sending out this meeting recording to the whole list of individuals that I have on my email list. If you're interested in receiving the recording, will you please just drop your drop your email in the chat, or you can email me directly. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation, so that I can make sure you're on my email list for that recording. Another thing I think of with having this recorded is that, again, the target audience Number one, I really want to be able to reach youth who are experiencing the foster care system, right? Have their voices really lead the conversation and lead the efforts of this position. And I also think about having this recording and being able to share it out to youth so that they can watch it at when they're able to, if they're interested in watching it. That's really my hope for this space, is that this information, these conversations can really be driven by youth voice. So I'm also really hopeful that that can be a way to maybe get some youth engagement, and that they can really help me understand what their experience is in the foster care system. And then what this space is not, so this is not a space to assert grievances. I am very interested in speaking to you if you have anything you want to talk about with me, but that is something offline. So we will not be discussing any case specifics here, and I will point you in the direction of my directors if you need it. If you have a grievance, that you want to bring forward, or if you have a concern that I can be helpful with, we can talk about those things offline. Okay. So first off, I know that there might be some new faces in the crowd, so I want to introduce myself. My name is Alexis Amarelli, and I am right now serving in the position of the Foster Care Ombudsman in Oregon. So I really want to start from the beginning of what an ombudsman is. So an ombudsman is really a neutral party to really hold systems accountable, to making sure that systems are showing up and performing for the community the way that they're supposed to. So an ombudsman is typically a very neutral party that looks at a program and really provides feedback and recommendations on how programs are operating within law, policy, and procedure, or how they're not. My position as the foster care ombudsman is a little bit different. So my role as the foster care ombudsman is more of an advocacy model. So what that means is that I, in my position, am driven by the Foster Children's Bill of Rights and the Sibling Bill of Rights. I advocate for the voices of youth. In order for me to do that, I talk to youth directly. I engage with their advocates like yourselves or youth that might be on this call right now. And I really use youth experience as it is today to really drive that advocacy effort. Personally, I have actually experienced the foster care system. So I entered the foster care system when I was 3 years old, and then I was in and out of foster care through a couple different states, and I was adopted through the foster care system as a teenager. So I really use that to guide me in this position as a person with lived experience, but my experience is not going to capture the experience of others. I have a tool in my tool belt that I can use as far as that experience goes, but my experience is not going to be exactly like anyone else's, and I know that, I recognize that, and I'm very, very aware of it. So I wanted to just introduce myself and give a little bit of human to this position, in hopes that can really help. Maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable in reaching out to me, or directing youth to reach out to me directly, which is really what this position is for. I went over really briefly about the foster care ombudsman position, but what I really want to emphasize and point out is that I am one person in a whole team of ombuds that are housed within the governor's advocacy office. And I wanted to make sure that I offer oops, did I switch it? There we go. Offer really an overview of our office. So the governor's advocacy office is, I'm one slice of a big pie. And I really wanted to make sure that I really paint the picture as to where I am and where I exist in this world. So as you'll see, there is kind of a breakdown of our office. We have 7 different ombudsmen that fulfill the roles and duty of the children's advocate. And then there's me. I'm one foster care ombudsman for the entire state. There is a formal complaint coordinator and civil rights investigator, as well as a screener. And then I really want to take a moment to allow, there's 2 people in the crowd I want to introduce you to, and they're on this screen right now. So the director and the deputy director are here with us today. So that leads to some changes in our office. So we have a new director and a new deputy director that are here with us. And I would really love for them to just take a moment to introduce themselves to you and offer any information that they feel would be helpful. Jennifer, can we start with you?
Hi there, can you hear me, Alexis? Great.
I can hear
so
you,
my
yes.
name, Thank you. So my name is Jennifer Sorensen. I use she, her pronouns. And I do appreciate Alexis's clear slide, but I will emphasize that I'm an interim director and we have a temporary deputy director arrangement as well with Sean Nickerson, who will introduce himself in a moment. But I am new to Alexis's team as of Monday, so it's very nice to be here. And hopefully to meet all of you, whether it's in this meeting or in the future. So I appreciate whatever brought you to this space, all of you who are participating, and looking forward to getting to know you and Alexis's work more in the future.
Thank you. Sean.
Yes. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Nickerson. As Jennifer indicated, I am serving currently as the Deputy Director for the Governor's Advocacy Office here in the Office of the Department of Human Services. I've been working in health and human services in the state of Oregon for about 10 years, and I just started in this role back in February myself. Really excited to be here, excited to be able to work with Alexis, and the great work she's been doing in this particular field. So welcome everyone, glad to see you all, and glad to be able to connect at any time anybody would like to do that. Back to you, Alexis.
Thank you both very much. I appreciate that. And then I just wanted to offer an opportunity if anyone feels interested in coming off mic and introducing yourselves. I would love to hear who's in the crowd if you're interested. Just briefly your name and really why you're here today. I'd love to hear from you.
I guess I can introduce. My name's Riley. I go by they, them pronouns. I'm a foster youth advocate as well as work with a couple organizations. And I'm here just because I've been part of the Ombudsman meetings for 10 years now, as well as a couple of these bills that will be discussed later also I'm involved in. So, yeah.
Thank you, Riley.
I'll go next. I am LV. I'm new to the Pacific Northwest, so this is my first time being on this call. I have lived experience, but also have worked in child welfare for about 7 years. And I'm currently working with Foster America, so I'm wanting to try to see how I can take that experience from Foster America and maybe help this organization in any way. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And I'll go next. I'm Emily Cooper. My pronouns are she and her, and I work at Disability Rights Oregon. And I've been part of these meetings for a long time. And Alexis, you bring so much happiness and lightness to this space. It's a joy to be here again.
I can go next. Afternoon, y'all. My name is John Garcia. I use he, him pronouns. I'm currently the Operations and Finance Manager for the Child Welfare Partnership with Portland State University, and then I also sit on the Board of Directors as the Board Secretary for Oregon Foster Youth Connection. So it's nice being here. It's my first time on the call. Alexis, nice seeing you as always. Appreciate all your contributions. And Jennifer, congratulations on your new position. I worked with Jennifer in D15 Child Welfare years ago. So nice to see everyone today.
I'll go next. My name is Tricia Swallow. I work for the Judicial Department Citizen Review Board. I'm a field manager and training recruitment specialist. I also worked for child welfare for 22 years before being in this role. So I'm very happy to be here, and I've worked with Alexis a couple times, and it is definitely a joy to work with you.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate anyone who is here and might not want to come off mute. I just am really grateful that you're here and you're willing to be a part of this conversation. And if you ever want to reach out to me directly and have any conversations offline, I would love to get to know you and meet you and learn about what you are interested in when it comes to the foster care ombudsman position. Like I said in the beginning, I will have my contact information at the end of this presentation. So I really welcome anyone that I have not had the opportunity to meet. I'm always here and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, Let's dive in. So first, we are going to do the quarterly report. So I had sent out I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a little bit. So I had sent out an email, and I want to make sure that everyone understands the different reports that were attached to the email. So there is a Foster Care Ombudsman annual report. There is also the Governor's Advocacy Office Team's annual report. And then there's also the quarterly report, which we're going to go over today. So as I explained before, I'm a small piece of the puzzle. And between the two annual reports is actually what's happening with child welfare. So I want to make sure that I really emphasize that I am one part of this big puzzle. And I wanted to make sure that you all have those reports so you're able to see what also the rest of the team is doing, because I think it's really important as a part of this conversation. And with that, I am going to figure out how to share my report with you. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen again? Awesome. All right, so this is, as I said before, this is the draft version of quarter one for the report for just the foster care ombudsman calls. And like I talked about, we're always trying to make sure that we're moving towards that target as to why this position was created in the first place. So what this is going to show is this is going to show the data that has been collected specific to youth experience in foster care throughout the state of Oregon. So this is the different cases that I have had, or I've had other, people from my team support me with, that have been classified as specific for foster care ombudsman duties, that really speaks to what's happening for youth in the foster care system between January 2025 and March 31st, 2025. Another part of this is that I want to make sure that I also explain that this captures the cases that were able to be closed. So a lot of the cases that I get are very complex, very complicated, and it takes a lot of time to understand each case, to really feel like I have exhausted everything that I can in a specific situation. So I really don't, and really I'm a part of the United States Ombudsman Association, and the work of an ombuds, one of the fundamental purposes of an ombuds is to make sure that a program is held accountable. When you are rushing through and really pushing a case through to try and hit a date target, it's really possible to miss important things and to not exhaust all of the things that are important for a specific case. So I say that because this really demonstrates the cases that I was able to close, that I was able to get return emails from people that are outside of my control, really be able to answer the question that was really brought to me, the concern that was brought to me. I felt like I was able to find a resolution for it. So this is the first page, and it's in draft form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slowly go through this and really kind of explain each page as I understand it. And if anyone that has been a part of this committee wants to speak up and share, anything that you also know to be true about this report, I very much welcome it. I definitely recognize that there has been, 10 years that I haven't been a part of this, this position as the foster care ombudsman. I actually don't think I mentioned that. So I started in this position in May. So I'm almost to a year. So there's been lots of conversations and work that has gone into building this report. And I really want to make sure that we keep that effort moving forward. And any conversations that I might be missing, I really welcome you to make sure that I am aware that I might be missing something. I'm always available for hard conversations and all that good stuff. So with that being said, I tend to talk a lot, so I'm going to try to keep myself on track. So this is the first page. As you'll see, 63 cases were closed through the quarter one. The majority of the cases came through the Youth Empowerment and Safety line. And I'm going to cruise down and I'll see, I'm able to see if you raise your hand, or please feel free to come off mute if you have anything that you'd like to say, or anything that you would like to talk about as I'm on each page. And then this page 2, this really shows you where the concerns are coming from in the state. So you're able to see really on this map. I really love illustrations like this because you're able to see where this data is coming in from. Something else that I really like this map for is really looking at outreach efforts. As I explained, I'm one human for the entire state, so I'm trying to participate in outreach efforts, but it's difficult to do. But I really every quarter that I've taken this data and I've looked at this map, there's been really an open spot down in the bottom of our state that I feel maybe could really benefit from some outreach. The eastern part of the state, I think anywhere along here, away from the I-5 corridor, even along the coast. If I was able to clone myself, I would have outreach efforts really coming in on this side of the state. And I know that we've talked about this before, and we'll talk about some potential changes that are coming here in just a little bit, but I just want to acknowledge that this map is something that I use to really look at outreach efforts.
Alexis, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, yeah, please.
It's Emily.
Hey.
I see on this page and the one previously, you have like kind of a dark yellow and a light yellow. Are you doing that just to show, like, focus on the numbers, or is it a change in the numbers from the last report?
That's a really good question. And I will tell you that that was something that was put in by our previous director. So it was something that Darren and I had spoken about that, he and I were I'm not really sure what that's supposed to highlight, but it's something that has been brought into the report and conversations that have been had. Do you feel like it's distracting?
No, it's more that because it's draft, I don't know if you were still counting the numbers, but for
Nope.
me, I'm also a visual person. And
Yeah.
so I look at the dark yellow as the highest number, and then
Yes.
the lighter yellow is like the next, and then the not yellow is the lowest.
Correct.
So it
Yeah.
helps
So
me.
that is the way that I understand the highlighting is working. And that highlighting, I believe, stays on there even in the final version. So this report, as I had said earlier, it goes to the director's office as well as the governor's office. And I believe that the highlighting stays in there. And this report is also posted to the website in this way. But that is
Thanks.
something that, again, this is the space to be able to take feedback. So if you feel like maybe that might not serve or maybe doesn't look so good, we could definitely change it, potentially. I'm looking at you, directors. Okay, cruising forward. All right, so the youth placement setting, another thing I wanted to point out is that the majority of the cases that were closed during this quarter, the highest number of concerns were youth that were placed in non-relative placement settings, which I think is very interesting. And then the not applicable, so one of the reasons that that would be in there is that it is not about a youth who's actually experiencing foster care. It could be a youth who formerly experienced foster care and is no longer in a placement setting. It could also be, a case that I get that a youth is not in foster care anymore. They're in, maybe a closed case and they wanted to talk about, their case that they've experienced the child welfare system, but they never actually were in a foster care placement. So that is where a not applicable would come in.
Where for youth who are in hotels, what category would they be in?
There's a category for hotels. There's not on here, but I didn't have any cases that were pertaining to hotels for this quarter.
Okay, I didn't know if I needed new glasses. Sorry.
No, there just aren't any. So it would be on here if I had any. And then we're going to cruise forward. So this is the demographic information for the youth who were experiencing foster care during this quarter as the cases were closed. So you'll see the largest group of age was really the young kiddos who aren't able to really speak up for themselves. So really, as I said, I rely so heavily on advocates, their willingness to pick up the phone and call me and advocate for youth as they're experiencing foster care. So that really speaks to advocates stepping forward and saying, yes, I'm going to reach out. And then something that I'm excited about is that I'm starting to build relationships with some youth that I have been able to work with for a couple different, instances, a couple different scenarios. And I'm excited to see just some new traction as far as conversations are going with youth directly. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that here. And then on this page, you'll see our buckets for reporters. So you'll see the different people who are reaching out. Something that I really want to point out here is that the current foster child and the former foster child buckets are going to be highlighted on one of the last pages of this report. So these concerns that were coming directly from Youth Voice have their own category. We want to look at what are youth saying and really make sure that we're paying attention to what is being said. And these are the numbers that I just wish that I could increase, that I was able to talk to youth directly, able to hear directly what they're experiencing and how I can be helpful to them. And then the next 3 pages are the different buckets of concerns. And I'll just go through this really slowly so you can see it. This was a new category that we added on January 1. So being able to track a youth experiencing an absent attorney is something that I'm able to provide data on now. Yeah, please, Emily.
Sorry, I try to lean in
No,
in the
sorry.
back and all that. I think the investigative practice, is that where like there's an outstanding CPS complaint? And so it's somewhere on the radar of child welfare, but the child may not be in care yet?
Yeah, so it could be, that there is a youth who is potentially placed into foster care placement, and there's a concern as to how the youth ended up in foster care. So sometimes that can look like the agency's efforts to try to really keep a child in home. That can look like, customer service during child protective services assessments. Outside of timelines is something else that would fall under there. So the CPS timelines are very short, and it's a hard target to hit. So that is something that I'm able to track under that.
The reason I asked is because, and I'm putting it in the chat, and full on trigger warning, but there was an Oregon Live story last week about 10 children who have died and so far just in this year that are in that kind of screening bucket. And I don't know if any of these complaints, or if you can share that, but this was alarming to me. Especially because many of these children are either really young, like your previous screen, or have disabilities. And so I'd be curious to know, like, what, if anything, you can share about the case concerns around investigative practices.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said in the beginning, I can't share any case specifics. When it comes to any of the concerns that I go through, and really look into the practice, the action or the inaction of the child welfare program, it's really dependent on people picking up the phone and making me aware of it. So there could be potentially cases that you're referring to that I might not even be aware of. I am involved as advocates and youth themselves will allow me to be involved. I'm very sad to hear about this article that you have put into the chat, and I will absolutely be reading through that when I'm off here. Does that answer your question, Emily?
It does, yeah, thanks. Because I
Okay.
think for me, this raises to like capital C critical concern. So we can talk
Yeah.
offline. I don't want to mess up your flow.
Yeah, I hear ya. Yep, I hear ya. We'll keep pushing forward. Another change that we implemented January 1st is being able to really individually track each right on the Foster Children's Bill of Rights and the Sibling Bill of Rights. So these 2 buckets down here are brand new for this report, and I'm super excited about it. So I'm able to, when I'm able to really look at a case concern, I'm really trying to always dial it back to the why of why this position is here. This position is here because of the Foster Children's Bill of Rights and the Sibling Bill of Rights. And it makes sense to me that we would break down each one of those rights to be able to track what's working and what's not, and really be able to report back to the agency and give some of that feedback of these are the rights that are just kind of not being followed, not being offered to youth. So that is what this data is able to show. I'm really excited to see what this might look like for the annual report at the end of 2025 as we continue to track this data. Being able to see, what is that youth experience as it pertains to their different rights as they experience the child welfare system. I believe this is the last page. So this is the page where we really dive into what youth are saying. This page is so important to me. This really, I feel, speaks to youth experience. As I mentioned before, I really want that number of youth voice that I'm able to capture here to increase. But this is, I was able to have direct conversation with 7 different youth between January and March, and this is what their experience was and what they are saying about their experience in the foster care system in Oregon. And then down here, you're going to see more of the action page. So the findings as to how each one of those cases was able to resolve. And then as well as the different actions. So being really aware of, I'm a mandatory reporter and I have to call in concerns for abuse into the Oregon Child Abuse Hotline. And then there on the last page of this report, there's a breakdown of each one of the findings that are listed here. So if you have any questions as to what each one of these findings means, feel free to come off mute, as I've said, or there's a glossary down here or appendix. Isn't that a body part? Anyways, okay. Any questions? Any questions for me about it? All
I
right.
hesitate to ask another question, but I will.
Please, no, I appreciate it.
In terms of the services that the service concerns, were there particular services? I mean, I can guess it's like behavioral health or whatever, but are there any trends you're seeing that people are calling to complain that youth or their advocates don't feel like they're able to get? Because I'll just throw it out there, like if it's access to like Medicaid services or durable medical equipment, it's just a reminder to you and everybody, we do these appeals all the time. And so feel free to refer folks to us if that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I can't think of, any examples off the top of my head while still trying to remain kind of balancing the confidentiality and all of that stuff. So I can't think of any. I think the thing that really comes to mind is services as far as a youth being placed into a foster care placement and not being directly related to therapy services or any of the services that they need once they're placed there. So really along the lines of what the Citizens Review Board might be looking for, what do the services look like for this youth as they're placed into this placement? So that is the thing that really comes to my mind when it comes to services and things that I've heard, is that a youth will be placed, but there'll be a long delay, and sometimes it's outside of the agency's control. But that's really what my role in that is going to be, is really identifying the action or inaction of the child welfare program. So really staying specific to my authority of what I'm able to look at, but knowing that I can refer to you or reach out to you in situations like that, that's a really helpful tool for my tool belt. Riley.
This is not a me question. It's a question from someone who doesn't feel comfortable speaking up.
Sure, please.
But we're wondering if someone calls the hotline and is having situations of repetitive reports being made but not having action made, is that something they can call in about?
So they're calling in.
They're at their home, like they're still at the home, CPSs came out, done like house, safety checks and all that kind of stuff, but they're not in foster care. Is that something they can call about, or is that a continue to call CPS thing?
What I will tell you is that I will talk to anyone who wants to talk to me, and I will make sure that I get them to the right place. So if I'm not the appropriate person to be able to help them, I am really motivated to get them to the right location. And if it's a youth, I really, I would love to be able to support them however they want to be supported.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you. To answer the question, Riley, send them my way. You still got my direct number?
Will do. I do, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll send them your way.
Cool. All right, any other questions before we move forward? All right, I'm going to go back to my little PowerPoint. Where are we? We are here. All right. Yeah, where did you guys go? I can't see anybody anymore.
We can hear you though.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah, and we have 2025 legislative session. It looks beautiful.
Okay, you can see my screen too. Okay.
Yes.
Wait, oh, there you are. Okay. Hi, there we go. Okay, so I just wanted to put this on here as really just an opportunity so as I said, I am still new to this position. Well, I guess it's almost been a year, but I still know that I have a lot to learn. And I have been learning about the long legislative session, and I am so fascinated by it. And there are so many different bills that are actively being worked on, or bills that might, not be moving forward, that I've been watching and really have a direct impact on the work that the foster care ombudsman is related to. So I just wanted to highlight them. I don't know if anyone else has interest in hearing about these things, but there's some really exciting things coming. So one of the things I wanted to highlight is Senate Bill 875, which is advancing. So this is going to be potentially, as I'm also learning, there's lots of different hoops and loops to get through, but it's potentially going to be impacting the Foster Children's Bill of Rights and the Sibling Bill of Rights. They have not been updated or changed since they were put into place in 2014. So some extra rights are going to be potentially added to, the different bills of rights for youth. And there's some really important things that are being talked about and really acknowledged as important to youth that are experiencing foster care. One of the things that I'm super pumped about, if it's able to move forward, is a youth being able to choose regarding religion practices, being able to say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. And having that right as they're experiencing foster care is the idea of that is so incredible. It's something that when I'm looking at child welfare cases and youth experiencing foster care, one of the rights that is on the Bill of Rights is the youth being able to make major decisions about their lives. That is something when it comes to religious practices and participation, I feel like that falls into that category, but being able to define it even further, so excited about it. A youth being able to read that they have the right to decide, so excited. So Senate Bill 875, moving forward. Okay, and then the next one, so Senate Bill 1159. So this is a Senate bill that is not moving forward any longer, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because I had, since our last meeting in January, I had the opportunity to present 3 different times at the Capitol, and I'm so excited about it. So I was able to present to the Senate Committee of Human Services and the House Committee on Early Childhood and Human Services. Early Childhood and Riley, help me. What's the full name of it?
It's learning.
Help me, Riley.
You talked to The early childhood and House and Human Services, yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. I got it right. Okay, cool. So I was able to present there. So excited. Like that was such an incredible opportunity. I am not a public speaker by any means, but I was so just like so excited to just be able to share about this position. Really, the invitation was, what is the foster care ombudsman? What does that mean in Oregon? So I was able to really provide some information to those legislative committees, and that information, that testimony is actually available on the Oregon legislative website if you're interested in watching it. And actually, another thing that I wanted to just make the group aware of is that Senate Bill 1159 was potentially going to be, as I mentioned, the children's advocate. So the role of the children's advocate, so those duties, as well as the duties of the foster care ombudsman, would be transitioned to a more independent structure. So right now, the governor's advocacy office, where all of those positions are housed, is underneath the Oregon Department of Human Services director. So this Senate bill would have made the office where those positions are housed separated, so that there wouldn't be that direct line of reporting to the director any longer. So the interesting thing is that, you know, after the committee presentations and these conversations were happening, there was actually an OPB article that I was featured in. Which is crazy again. Like, this is all so new to me. But there was a feature about, really, I think the optics are super important when you think about the foster care ombudsman and the children's advocate, and the optics of where the positions are housed. And really, the OPB article speaks to that. So if you're interested, you can officially Google my name and I pop up, which is crazy. Okay. Anyways, next one I also think is really interesting, is one that I had conversations directly with child welfare about. So this is Senate Bill 1016. So this is about the use of trash bags for youth that are experiencing foster care. So what this bill does is it really talks about the use of trash bags, and it has really a reporting mechanism to the legislative body. So I was asked really about my potential participation in that process. And anytime that I get questions like that, the first place that I go is I'm going to reach out to all of you, because I really don't want to make any of these decisions that are really big, really into a really individual place. I have, in my view, really a team of people around me that I can lean into. So I had reached out to all of you I had reached out to the people on my email list, really with an idea of a survey monkey of, if this was to happen, what are your thoughts on what that could look like, of what youth transitioning between placements, what their duffel bag or what was the other thing? Why am I drawing a blank? Tote.
Using duffel bags,
what would that?
totes, and
Yes,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
What would that look like from a community's perspective, from a youth perspective? Really, again, I want, if there's any sort of position that I'm going to take, I want to take position of youth, right? I want to take position of the people who are experiencing what we're talking about. So I had sent out really a survey monkey, and I would love to share really just the results. One of the things I'll tell you is that I really got some feedback about the idea of me potentially coming in as a place where child welfare report the use of trash bags. I got some feedback that that's not necessarily something that would be helpful. So that is no longer, so that's not something that is going to be moving forward. But I still received some responses to SurveyMonkey, and I would love, if anyone's interested, I would love to share the SurveyMonkey results with you. Everything's anonymous, so I didn't leave in anybody's identifying information. But if you kind of want to see the feedback that I got from those questions that I sent out, I'd love to share it with you. Again, I really want to lean into transparency from this position and making sure that we're getting the target right. And in order to do that, I really want to make sure that these conversations are happening transparently. And what is the next one? Senate Bill 3835. So this is something that is ongoing. I don't know that I understand it enough to summarize it really quickly, but what I understand at this point is that it's going to potentially be changing some definitions for child welfare, as well as changing child welfare's ability to potentially place children that are experiencing foster care out of state. So what I understand is that right now youth are not able to be placed out of the state of Oregon. That was a result of some really big legislative changes that were made that were really important to be made. And this Senate bill, as I understand it, is potentially going to be changing that. So the reason I wanted to bring that up is because when we were asked about it, because the placing a youth outside of the state will actually require, per this potential Oregon revised statute, that the placement out of state would be reported to me as the foster care ombudsman to review. So as you know, as we've looked at that and what that would potentially look like, we have put forward a request for additional foster care ombudsmans for the state. As I've said numerous times, I'm one person and I'm really trying to serve the best of my ability. But really the thing I wanted to mention here is that through Senate Bill 3835, there is a request from our office that we would potentially be getting maybe another FCO. So that could be exciting. Yeah, Riley.
I just wanted to, I also put in the comment section, but the out of state, that kids can go out of state. The only thing is that they have to meet the Oregon's illegal holds and abuse language to be able to send kids out of state, and out of state agencies do not want to follow Oregon's illegal holds and what like Oregon defines as abuse, therefore they will not take kids from Oregon. So it's not that we can't send kids out of state, it's out of state agencies don't want to follow our regulations and rules around what's illegal and what's legal. So what the bill would do is take away those two languages, allowing kids to go back out of state again. So just wanted to clarify that they can go out of state, it's just they have to follow those two things.
Got it. Yeah, so as far as I understand, that Senate bill is moving forward. Is that correct?
Okay. Sadly.
Okay. So those are ones that I'm tracking. If you're interested in following along with me, some potential changes are coming. So anyways, moving forward. Next thing I just wanted to touch on was outreach efforts and events. Oh, Riley.
I had one more question. When it came to Senate Bill 1016, the Survey Monkey results, sharing that portion, are you like wanting to send out an email on those results, or are you sharing it here?
Yeah, I can put it either in this chat or I can email it out to everyone that I asked to participate. I had 25 different participants, and I also want to be mindful of not bogging down everyone's email. So really, whatever really the group here would think would be most helpful, I was kind of leaning towards maybe bogging down emails and just sending it out. What do you think?
Okay, sounds good.
That's
totally fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll send out an email after we get off here. Was it?
Okay. Can you just make sure I'm also on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. I am going to cruise forward again, being mindful of everyone's time. So some things I wanted to just mention is that I am looking for different summer events. So I've reached out to Foster Club. There's potentially 2 different events that I have asked if I can participate. One of them being the Dream Conference, which I did last year. And then there's also the Oregon Youth Retreat. One is in Portland and the other is in Salem. Um, so I've reached out to Foster Club to see if I might be able to join in those different outreach events. I have a little table that you can see there that I set up. Actually, in this picture, I always want to just make sure I point this out. That photo frame on the table, that is how the logo for the Foster Care Ombudsman was created. So Darren, my predecessor, Darren Mancuso, who was in this position for 10 years, he had a drawing contest. So he had youth participate in this contest, and that was the winner. And you can see that is the original in the frame, and then it's now the logo. And I love it so much. So anyways, I have those two different outreach events that I am potentially going to be going to. I've also reached out to each individual tribe in the state of Oregon, really to open up a line of communication, really just to let them know that I'm here, introduce myself, make sure that they know that I'm here and I'm here to support however that might look for each individual tribe. And then the last thing I wanted to ask, and this is a question for the group. I have a Facebook page that I'm running for the Foster Care Ombudsman. Is this working? Is this a good platform to be able to hit the target audience that we're looking for with social media?
Yes, I think so.
Facebook is good?
Yes, that's how I found you and you invited me.
Oh, cool. Okay. Awesome.
Oh,
And is
and
there
my
any?
name, I was going to say, my name is Kellyanne Stiles, and I'm a grandparent and a mother and a vivacious volunteer in our community. So when you say you're looking for volunteer tabling events, I would like to invite you to a couple places, events that are happening here in Lane County when you're available.
Oh, I would love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. What's the best way to reach you?
Well, my email's the best, so I can
Okay.
give that to you or contact you.
Are you
I
able
almost
to access the chat right now?
No, I have phone storage issues and I wasn't able to get a new phone yet. So thankfully I was able to dial in the phone number, but I wasn't able to go on Zoom yet.
Okay. Do you happen to have the ability to take down my direct number?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
It's 541 373
541 373
0211.
0211.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Well, that's great to hear. Okay, is there another platform that we should consider for the outreach efforts? Is there another place that I should be potentially looking at? I've thought of Instagram, and I don't think I could do TikTok. I don't think I'm talented enough to be a TikToker, but I feel like that's maybe where youth are. Like, I can figure it out. I have a cat. I
Actually,
can make like cat videos or something. Try and get
yeah,
youth engagement.
actually,
Really,
I
that's
would.
like the target audience I'm trying to reach, right? Like I'm trying to understand how where are youth that might also need to learn about being here to support them. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear from you.
I would encourage the Instagram after all, because the last
Okay.
time I set up Facebook, it sent a notification that you can also through them set up Instagram, and then every time you post something, it automatically, when you sync those two together, it automatically sends to both Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. So it would just feed directly into both of the different platforms.
Yes, especially if you do hashtag, then that's helpful.
Oh my gosh. I have to learn how to hashtag. Okay.
Well, so if we ever meet,
You literally
I can
use
show
the
you.
pound sign, Alexis. It's very easy.
Say that again, Riley.
I said you use the pound sign. That's all
Just the
you do.
pound
Pound
sign.
sign and then your words.
Okay. Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to look into maybe Instagram then. It sounds like that might be a good place to go. see if I can maybe get that going for us. Okay. Okay, and then last but not least, we have a little bit, 1 minute, but I'm willing to stay as late as anyone else. Time for roundtable. So if anyone has any questions or anything you want to share with the group, again, really thinking about this opportunity that we have to share community voice and share space together. So if there's anything that I, can answer for you or anything that you just want to offer to everyone, I would love to hear from you. Yeah, Emily.
I just think with outreach, I think about this a lot because I serve only people with disabilities that may not have like social media or have the ability to leave. And so I don't know if you've thought about it or if you've got bandwidth, but I think going into some of these facilities or programs or
Yes.
and actually going out. I even think like if facilities serving children had part of their rights was like posting your name and your contact information, I think that would be really important because like the long-term care ombudsman, that all nursing homes have to post the LTCO information. And I
There
don't know
is
if
a
this,
requirement that the Foster Children's Bill of Rights is posted.
but not necessarily your contact information. So that would be
Oh,
my suggestion because I think
sure.
that way if they're worried or they're scared, they know to reach out to you.
Yeah, so on the Foster Children's Bill of Rights is the Youth Empowerment and Safety line. And the only reason I hesitate to, pivot things over to a direct line is I don't want anything to be missed when it comes to, outreach from youth. I want to make sure that they are able to get somewhere consistently. And I also know that, this position, Darren was here for a while and then it transitioned to me and, it might transition to someone else eventually from me, and I would hate for things to just be going to one place in the form of a poster. So I feel like the 855 number or the Youth Empowerment and Safety line, but I do agree that the human aspect of, this is this is the person that is going to be on the other side and the person who's in that role. I definitely do believe that has some value to it too. I hear ya. I wish I could go to every single certified facility where youth are placed all the time. I wish. I would love to. There's actually some states that have entire, actually West Virginia. I looked at West Virginia, their organizational chart. They have regional foster care ombudsmen that are housed across the state in different regions. And I just think about like the good stuff that we could do for youth experiencing foster care if we were able to offer that. So I don't know how that ever changes, and I don't know. But that is definitely something I wish I could do. I think I see a hand. Hey, Alana,
Hey,
how you
sorry I
doing?
was a little bit late today. I was actually sailing when the call started.
Thank you for
Thanks again
coming.
for having me and for including me. I wanted to just give you a quick update. Sorry I wasn't here in the beginning if there were introductions. I'm Alana Connor. I'm a former foster youth in the state of Oregon. I've been sailing solo around the world, raising awareness about youth and care for the last 5 years, like fundraising for organizations that support young people who are in care, championing advocacy and independent advocacy in particular, and just trying to shine a light on and for young people. Actually was just at a summit here in South Australia like 2 days ago with in a rural region with all the peak bodies for regional caregiving. So that was like the care recruitment and retention organization, and then an organization that represents the voice of the young person, and the Minister for Child Protection was here as well, who's kind of like the top overseer of everything related to child welfare. I'm not sure how good my reception is right now, so am I coming through clearly?
You are, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So so my goal is to share back among international organizations and groups the things that I see from other places that might be helpful to someone else. And so I just wanted to let you know, Alexis, that I have been learning about the Office of the Guardian here. And as this legislation is going through to make the Ombuds Office independent, it reminds me so much of the Office of the Guardian here, and I thought this could be a useful model to you if you're advocating for what that like independent ombuds office looks like. So they have a similar thing here in South Australia. I haven't seen it elsewhere, where rather than advocacy sitting in an independent organization, like walk alongside amplifying the voice of the child organizations like the ones that I've seen in New Zealand, this organization is it is under the government, so be closer to what the Ombuds office would be, but not sitting under like DHS. So they have advocates on staff. They also have like mandatory visits. So they're allowed to go and visit residential facilities, and that's part of the scope of the role of their advocates. The office employs something like 20 people maybe, or 15 for the state of South Australia. So it's quite a decent number of advocates to like chase down the independent cases and calls and things that they're receiving. And their office is also based on, they call it the Charter of Rights, but it's similar to what we have with the Bill of Rights for foster youth. And I also wanted to say thank you for sharing all the stuff about the rights with me when I was back in Oregon in November. They are super interested in the Oregon Children's Siblings Bill of Rights here.
Yes.
And so I've been sharing around the Oregon State
Right
Bill of Rights
on.
with people in South Australia because they're looking for something like a similar model. It's one of the top 4 strategic like concerns of the organizations that represent the voice of young people here is access to siblings. But they didn't have an example document of like sibling rights being enshrined before. So anyway, if you want to chat about the Office of the Guardian at all, or do some research about it, I'm happy to share whatever links I have. And I'll be sailing to Adelaide soon, which is the seat of South Australia, and meeting with the Guardian for Children. I did meet with the Minister for Child Protection. So she's like an elected official, but one of her portfolio things she's responsible for is the child protection services and like overseeing that. So anyway, I'm happy, like once I learn some more, to share that back to you as well, or anybody else here that's interested.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for
Worldwide champion.
I try.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking. I've been sharing some of the other stuff that's been happening. Like a couple days ago, I had a young person visiting. She's 19 and a half, and she's aged out of care here. And she's going to school to be a social worker, and I was telling her about you, and she found that really inspiring. So yeah, your story is inspiring other young people elsewhere in the world. But she's also really concerned about her brother. He's 17 and a half and lives in a residential facility. And when he turns 18, care is just over and the residential facility can just kick him out, but it's halfway through his senior year of high school. So they're still working on some really basic things here, like raising the age of exiting care and more guaranteed support for post 18. Yeah.
Wow. I always learn so much every time I get to talk to you.
Likewise, every time I get to hear or read your presentation. So yeah, and thanks for including the stuff about legislation here. It's actually difficult to access links for bills from overseas. Like if I had a VPN, I think I could, but the Oregon State legislative work sometimes when it's on certain websites, I actually can't access it all. So it's really helpful. And if in the future, if you felt like including some of the text of those draft bills in your presentations or your documents, like that could be really helpful for anyone else who happens to be traveling overseas and can't access them.
Oh, sure. I can send you anything that you're interested in right now as well.
Do
you still have my email address? You can email me.
I do, yeah. Some of those links opened, but I know some of them won't as well because I've had to look at them in the past. I'm particularly interested in that stuff around religious rights, having experienced that as a foster youth myself in the state of Oregon and being in religious homes. There's like a lot of subtle coercion that happens around religion, which I'm sure you're aware of, but it's all wrapped up in like attachment and seeking love and connections and the families you're in. So even it depends on how it's written, whether or not that bill is going to be really helpful.
I'm going to email it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to write a note for myself right now. Okay, anyone else? Questions, comments? 508.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Actually, I would like to say thank you for all of you who say and do what you do to help the children of foster care and going through serious situations in Oregon. And for those who've had that lived experience, I'm really sorry that you went through that, especially you, Alexis, telling us about that. But I'm also glad that you took that painful situation and turned it around for a positively productive purpose. and are now advocating for others so that they will have a better experience. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. If there's
Hey,
nothing else,
Alexis,
yeah, please.
sorry,
No, it's fine.
ignore my email for whatever
Hi,
reason. I
Don.
couldn't get connected to my laptop. Yeah, I couldn't get connected on my laptop, but I did get connected on my phone. I don't know what the
Good
issue
to
was,
see you.
but anyway, but it was good. Yeah, it's been quite a while.
It has been a
And
while. Good to
yeah,
see you.
so yeah, so thank you for your work. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
And I have a real interest. If you ever need help or someone help when it comes to the luggage and all that type of thing, I have pretty strong feelings about that, which I put on the Google form about foster parenting for 20 years. As a one thing, where a child was in our home for 1 day, 1 year, they never left with stuff in trash bags. We always went out and had suitcases on hand. And when I certified foster parents for Aberdeen Kerr a number of years ago, that was always, I said, that's an expectation of mine. Because you can always, I would just search for lightly used suitcases and things like that. And I just think that's really important. It's just part of dignity, is I guess what I say.
Completely
That comes
agree.
out of my own life experiences. But yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. All right, folks. Well, I am going to end with my contact information. So I am always here. If there is anything that I can be helpful with, if you have any way that I can get involved to access, youth voice, really bring that to the forefront of everything that I'm doing from this position. And I just thank you all for being willing to sit with me for this meeting. And I'm here if you need me. I'm going to be emailing you soon. And I just really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Alexis, if you have a moment to speak, could I give you